Welcome to the All Things New devotional series. I'm Matt Parker, and this is Week 12, The Disinherited Nations. Day 3, The King the Nations Resist. Psalm 2. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth take their stand, and the rulers conspire together against the Lord and His Anointed One. Let's tear off their chains and throw their ropes off of us. The one enthroned in heaven laughs, the Lord ridicules them. Then He speaks to them in His anger and terrifies them in His wrath. I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. I will declare the Lord's decree, He said to me. You are my son. Today I have become your father. Ask of me, and I will make the nations your inheritance and the ends of the earth your possession. You will break them with an iron scepter, and you will shatter them like pottery. So now, kings, be wise. Receive instruction, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with reverential awe and rejoice with trembling. Pay homage to the Son, or He will be angry, and you will perish in your rebellion, for His anger may ignite at any moment. All who take refuge in Him are happy. Once we understand what's really going on in both the seen and the unseen realms, things begin to take shape and make a lot more sense. In Psalm 82, we found the dispersed nations being divided and judged or ruled over by spiritual beings. But these members of the divine council didn't do so faithfully, and God passed judgment on them as a result. Though their sentence has been levied, God leaves them in place, influencing the nations to again rebel and rise up against God, shouting nonsense like, let's tear off their chains and throw their ropes off of us. As always, though, God has a proper response. He presents the king. When Noah stepped off the ark, humanity still possessed the seed of rebellion. It was in his DNA. And after Babel, sin had not vanished, but it had matured. Humanity was still resisting God's divine rule. Kings continued to set themselves against God and His anointed. They aren't slowly drifting away. This is active resistance. Deuteronomy 32 showed us how the nations were handed over. Psalm 82 showed us deep corruption. And now Psalm 2 reminds us once again that God has yet to relinquish His claim on the nations. He literally laughs at their rebellion, at their ridiculous idea that they somehow have standing before the Creator of the universe. He isn't laughing because they're funny. He's laughing because their efforts are futile. God knows that revolting nations aren't the final authority. The King of Kings is already established in eternity. God says, I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. This reversal continues. The nations were scattered and handed over, and now they're raging. But these same nations are promised to be the inheritance of the Son. That truth brings us real and lasting hope. God is not content to allow the nations to persist in their corruption forever. One day He will bring them under the good and peaceful rule of the King of Zion. This promise finds fulfillment in the person of Jesus, the risen Son, who is given all authority in heaven and on earth. Today's heart question is about allegiance. Everyone serves a kingdom of some sort. Everyone lives under the authority of a throne of some kind. No one disputes that we have a ruler. The question is, to which ruler have you and I given our loyalty? This passage backs us into a corner and asks us with a straight face whether or not we are yet clinging to the illusion of autonomy and worldly power, or if we have taken refuge in Him. The danger here is twofold. On the one hand, our hearts often resist the rule of any king, or at least the rule of one who is actually and truly above us. We don't mind suggestions, but we bristle at true surrender. On the other hand, we sometimes find ourselves in blind commitment to earthly kings and rulers of this world, seeking their protection and blessing. When we pledge our allegiance to the kings of this world, we aren't only aligning with the ruler themselves, but the powers who stand behind them who are all too willing to lead us away from the one true King. Where do you still resist Christ's authority in your life? What if we did more than just admire the King, but took absolute refuge in Him? Father, I am so grateful the nations are not lost forever, which means neither am I. Root out the dark places in my own heart which still resist your rule and reign. Teach me to take refuge in Jesus, to trust that His reign is good and worthy of my full allegiance. Amen.